Good morning. If there is one thing that is a strong point of the Audi A6 C6, it will certainly be the bodywork. In well-maintained, accident-free cars, there is usually no corrosion, and if there is, it is usually only in the corners of the boot lid and where the third brake light is mounted, or possibly in the lower parts of the doors. The bonnet or front fenders will not rust because they are made of aluminum. The paint on the sills may peel, and the front and rear lights may steam up, with the rear lights more often in sedans than in station wagons. Electrics and electronics? It's quite good, although not perfect. The most common problems concern the operation of the electric windows, and there are also failures of the electric parking brake, and in the station wagon version, there are also failures of the wiper motor, which is usually caused by a washer fluid leak, as well as corrosion of the flap. The steering column may become blocked, which is inconvenient because it can make it impossible to travel by car. Another issue is water penetration into the car's interior, although this can hardly be considered a fault. It is usually the result of negligence in that A6 users do not clean the drainage holes on the windscreen. There are two of them, one of which is probably only available at the service center or in the sunroof. There are 4 holes, but it is mainly the ones in the front part of the sunroof that get clogged. The next 2 issues concern the Avant version. First, the lampshades on the boot lid are made of a different, cheaper material than the external lampshades, which is why after years the tailgate lights may become dull and ugly, while the external ones will still be in acceptable condition. You can try polishing, and if that doesn't help, the only thing left is to replace the lamps. In addition, the external parts of the rear window of the A6 estate may delaminate, similarly to the windscreen in the Ford Mondeo Mk4 Although this does not entail any serious consequences, it does look ugly. The interior usually looks good enough that dishonest traders can twist the odometers without any suspicion from customers, but you can come across worn-out parts, such as light switches, window switches, and seat bolsters, as well as damaged parts. These include, for example, delaminating wooden parts, although such problems are not the rule. Pixels on displays can disappear. The Audi A6 C6 could have left the factory with conventional suspension, sport suspension, S-line, or air suspension, usually found in the all-road model. The first 2 types do not cause any major problems, except perhaps worn rubber, except that the S-line suspension offers noticeably lower comfort than the conventional one. Too low for some. Pneumatics, on the other hand, are a more difficult subject. Yes, it allows you to control the ride height and stiffness of the suspension, but it sometimes leaks, and the air struts need to be replaced every 10 years or so. The front ones sometimes last a little longer, the rear ones rather less. If the road conditions are unfavorable, e.g., the car is traveling on salted roads in winter, the suspension will give out earlier, which is problematic because its repairs using original parts are expensive. You can try to save yourself with branded substitutes, but low-quality parts, or parts of unknown origin, can only make matters worse. The thing is that these branded substitutes are not necessarily available, especially for the rear axle. Most of the other suspension elements, regardless of type, should withstand mileage of 200,000 kilometers and more. Another thing is that with the mileage of used A6s, the vast majority of copies should already have at least a second set of suspension. On the positive side, no comments regarding the chassis or brakes. Even if we ignore the top-of-the-range V10 engines, the range is dizzying. The A6 offered 2.0 TFSI, 2.4 volt 6, 2.8 V6 FSI units in 3 power versions, 3.0 V6 TFSI, 3.2 V6 FSI, and 4.2 volts 8, and 4.2 V8 FSI. The 2.0 TFSI is theoretically a completely decent engine, but only theoretically. It is usually discouraged, mainly due to problems with excessive oil consumption. Turbocharger failures or camshaft damage also occur here, and with age, fuel leaks also appear. The 2.4 volt 6 engine with multi-point fuel injection is highly sought after, mainly by people willing to install LPG systems. Here you need to watch out for the condition of the timing drive, and oil consumption may also occur, but apart from that, it is an engine worth recommending. The 2.8 and 3.2 FSI and 3.0 TFSI units are average. Direct injection means they have problems with carbon buildup, they also have leaks, and they can use oil, especially the 3.0 TFSI. It should also be noted that the 3.0 TFSI engine contrary to what the name would suggest, is equipped with a mechanical compressor. Although there is no mention of a plague of failures related to this, it is to be expected that any repairs or regeneration may cost more than in the case of turbochargers from competitors. In each of these engines, problems with timing, specifically with tensioners, and also with ignition coils and injectors, can be expected. The last options are the V8 4.2 engines. Problems? Of course, timing and leaks, and in the FSI version, also carbon deposits. They also used fragile intake manifolds. You have to be especially careful with cars from the first years of production. Coolant leaks from the rear of the engine can be particularly dangerous. It can mix with the oil, which will destroy the engine. The Audi A6 4.2 with multi-point injection was produced only until 2006. The 2.4-volt 6 version remained in the range for 2 years longer. Here things were a bit more modest than in the case of petrol engines. 2.0, 2.7 and 3.0 TDI units were offered in various versions, with the 2.7 and 3.0 being 6-cylinder V engines. 2.0 TDI with common rail injection is quite a good option, provided that we limit ourselves to the 170 HP variant marked CAHA. The 136 hydrogen phosphide CAGB is admittedly even more economical, but after higher mileage, which, let's be honest, every such car has already, the oil pump may be damaged, which in turn may lead to engine demolition. The same problem is experienced by 2.0 TDI engines with unit injectors, which add to this, among other things, cracked heads or problems with injectors. It is worth remembering that replacing the timing belts should be combined not only with replacing the water pump and tensioners, but also the bolts. This may seem obvious, but there are people who try to save money on this, except that this may lead to breaking off the old bolts and thus turning the car into a static sculpture. The 2.7 and 3.0 TDI engines are structurally related and have similar problems. The main one is the flaps in the intake manifolds. In extreme cases, they can break off and fall into the cylinders. Sometimes they simply jam or are just torn. You don't have to buy new intake manifolds. There are appropriate repair kits. Another issue is the pulley with vibration damper. It is worth checking its condition because it can get damaged. The inner part separates from the outer one, which in turn results in the multi-groove belt falling off or simply not working. And this means, among other things, the battery not charging and a quick end to the journey. What else requires a more thorough check? DPF filters, injectors, and of course, timing belt. The latter is not only complicated but also built on the gearbox side, which significantly increases the cost of replacement. However, it is considered to be slightly more durable than the timing belts in petrol engines in the A6 C6. Overall, the 2.7 and 3.0 TDI engines are often considered, alongside the 2.4-volt 6 petrol, to be the most reliable and durable power source for the A6 C6. Since 2008, Audi has been equipping its diesels with the Bosch CP4 high-pressure pump. Normally, we wouldn't care if it weren't for the fact that it's more sensitive to fuel quality than previously used solutions. It's worth considering this when choosing a petrol station, because a damaged pump means shavings in the fuel system, which can lead to engine damage. The Audi A6 C6 was offered with manual, continuously variable transmissions called Multitronic and torque converter automatics called Tiptronic. You could choose between front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Manual gearboxes are rather problem-free, although it is worth remembering that especially in diesels, it may be necessary to replace the dual-mass flywheel. The Multitronic traditionally receives worse reviews, although in practice, it is more successful than in the A6 C5 and is suitable for drivers who drive calmly. It is only connected to front-wheel drive. The Tiptronic is more durable than the Multitronic, but many cars with these gearboxes should have had the converter replaced anyway. It usually lasts roughly 250,000 kilometers. A well-maintained Multitronic should cover a distance of about 50,000 kilometers less, without major interventions. Failure to change the oil regularly will certainly have a negative impact on the durability of both automatic transmissions. There is no point in dwelling on the front-wheel drive, so let's move on to Quattro. This is a system based on the torsion mechanism, characterized by very high durability and reliability. What conditions must be met for it to be characterized in this way? You must remember to regularly change the oil in the differentials and transfer case, and the tires on both axles must be identical and in the same degree of wear. It is true that the Quattro system does not have as bad a reputation as BMW's xDrive in terms of sensitivity to different tires on the axles, but neglect in this area certainly will not help it. The Multitronic was not combined with all-wheel drive. All Audi A6 C6 with Quattro drive and automatic have a Tiptronic gearbox. Well, of course, there are no revelations either, but hey, the youngest A6s of this generation are already 11 years old, and the oldest, 18. They have the right to be a bit worn out, and you have to reckon with that. The right choice of version and model, plus keeping free cash on hand in case of an unforeseen breakdown, can provide a not-so-stupid car for comfortable journeys, which will still please the owner for years to come. But may God protect you from stupid savings, because it will quickly pay off. As they say overseas, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And if you know of any common errors, your comments are welcome.